ladies and gentlemen, my name is Clayton Thomas. Welcome to San Diego Comic-Con. Make noise! So, before we even get any further, I want y'all to know that I love Comic-Con so much, and going to panels is a massive thing, and I know a lot of times you have questions, and a lot of times you don't get to ask your questions. Well, today, you're going to get a chance to ask your questions. The question that I have for y'all before we get started, are we allowed to cuss?
We better be.
Is it yes, no? I just want to make sure, the one dad, no, not in front of my kids. All right, so I want to ask this question to everybody on the panel. Let's kick things off with a big picture. For anybody who wants to jump in, it's fine. LIL KEV is a story that had to be told. Why do you think that animation was the right medium for you guys to do it?
Because we can get away with a lot more in animation. You know, we're kind of in a world now where people scrutinize comedy too much. And in animation, it kind of goes under the radar, so we get to kind of do what we want, you know? So that's why, to me, it's perfect for animation, because there's less woke people in animation.
Yeah. Michael, this question is for you. Anybody can answer also. Animation allows for limitless imagination. What's a moment or an episode where you felt the freedom really paid off?
Yeah, well, there's a great episode that we did, I thought it was really fun, where it was a bunch of stories all told together. The one story was about Kevin and his mother taking this character, the racist, super old white lady who lives next door, on this crazy journey to get to the subway. And then Kev's dad, Henry, and his friends found a big jug of coins, and they were trying to get it to the check cashing place to check it in, and it turned into like an action movie that was really beautifully directed by all these guys over here. It was just incredible. Like it became like the Wages of Fear, and you know, like
Treasure of
Sierra Madre, and it was so fun. And they were being chased by these zombie crackheads, and you know, and at the top of it, at the same time, Uncle Richard declared his love for the character that Nicole plays by like scaling a building, and it was just so fun. That was the episode I really felt like, all right, now we're really taking advantage of the animation and having fun with it.
I love that, man. Allison, this question is for you. You co-produced this with David Ichiko. How do you say the name?
Ichioka.
Thank you, Ichioka. Can you please explain the process of assembling the crew and building this from the ground up?
Sure. So we start with, obviously, our creators. And then we start with hiring our supervising director, Musa. David had worked with Musa before, so he knew he was wonderful. And then our art director, Amanda. I worked with Amanda on BoJack Horseman and Tuca and Birdie, so I knew how talented she was as well, and knew that they were both going to be great leaders. And then we all worked together to hire all of our storyboard artists, our directors, our designers. A lot of them we've worked with before, and then, you know, we also usually take a chance on some new people. Musa actually found someone at, where were you, Lightbox?
Lightbox,
a
yeah.
Designer?
Yeah, Kat Fan, who's one of our key background artists.
Yeah, you loved her work, and so he just saw her in public and saw her work, and so we gave her a chance, and she was awesome.
I love this. Do me a favor, everybody, pull your mic a little closer to y'all. Yeah, got to get right close to your mouth so y'all can hear y'all clearly. Musa, tell me this. The art style and the style visually for LIL KEV is so distinct. How did you go about getting the look to this, what we see on screen?
So everybody that was in the leadership really wanted the show to have a slightly different feel than what kind of we're used to seeing on adult animated shows. And so we set out to do something different. We took a lot of influences. One of the big influences for me, I'm a big-time comic nerd. It's so exciting to be here, but Calvin and Hobbes. And so one of the things that I loved about Calvin and Hobbes, still love about Calvin and Hobbes, is the sort of the hand of the artist. You can see the hand of the artist in the work. And so that was part of my mandate, not necessarily to have it look like Calvin and Hobbes, but to have some flexibility in the line, to make sure it felt active so you could see the hand of the artist. And then when Amanda came on, we had a group of visual development artists, and we just sort of explored, and we tried a whole bunch of different things. We showed it to Mike and Matt, saw what they liked, saw what the network liked, and we whittled it down until we had the style that we were happy with. And then once that visual development period was over, Amanda took charge as art director and kind of led that team. We had so many great artists like Kat Fan, Cameron McLean, who is our character design supervisor, is here in the audience somewhere, right
There he is
there.
back there. Hey, Cam.
And just led a group of great artists. Richard Lee was our background supervisor, and together we all sort of came up with this look, and obviously with the input and supervision of Mike and Matt, brought the show together, and then, these guys with the voices brought it all to life.
I love that, man. I love that answer. Speaking of Matt and Mike, let me ask you guys, this show is loosely based on Kevin's life. How did you guys go about adapting his real life situations and kind of putting it into the show and making it universally funny?
Well, I'd say the main thing we changed, everything is comes from his life. His mom was essentially a single mom. Father was kicked out for being, an alcoholic and drug addict. Oh, thank you. I thought I was close enough. The one thing we changed that made sense for us was that his mom, Kevin's mom in real life worked for a university. She had like an office job, I think working at like either University of Pennsylvania or like Temple University. But we made her a nurse in an emergency room at like the local hospital, which we felt like was a much more opportunity for her to interact with the neighborhood and people, and stories could come out of that, and we really had a fun time doing that. And everything else, like so much, the Uncle Richard, these are all stuff that Kevin has talked about in his stand-up for a long, long time. So it was really fun to put that in life, to bring that to life.
Right. We met with Kevin early on, and the one mandate he had was he didn't want to make his neighborhood. He was like, I loved living there. It was tough, but I loved it, so I don't want you guys to make it seem like I hated living there. And so that was one of the things we had to really, really push and make it a fun place, because even if you grew up in the hood, anybody grew up in the hood out there? Yeah. Right, you had great times too, right? It wasn't just dodging bullets. So, we wanted to depict some of the fun times as well, and what makes Kevin who he is. And I went out to North Philly and went to his elementary school, walked around his neighborhood. Well, I actually didn't walk around the neighborhood. I was too scared. And I was like, it just gave me so much of appreciation for Kev, because he got out of that and became this huge star. Yeah. And it's amazing.
Nice. Do we have anybody from Philly in here?
Other than...
Went to school there. He went to school in Philly. All right.
Who's first time seeing Lil Kev right now? This is your first time seeing it. Make noise. Don't raise your hand. Clap your hands. All right. That's good. Appreciate y'all. Who has seen the show before? Make noise. Oh. Nice. All right, bet. So you guys are in for a treat, because all the episodes are streaming right now. Look at that. Right on BET Plus. There for everybody. Speaking of the animation, Amanda, let me talk to you right now. This show has such a raw, handmade quality. How did you guide your team into getting this appeal to the masses, pretty much?
Yeah, it's when you're working digitally, it's super easy to try and control everything and make everything feel like perfect. So I was just really encouraging artists to make mistakes and leave them. And if you draw a bad line, don't erase it, just draw the line again. And in painting too, I like seeing how the color is built up. It's like something that you lose from traditional medium. It's like all of the colors that mix together to make the solid color. So I want the layers. It's important when you're portraying a neighborhood like North Philly to feel the texture and the history and the layers of paint. If it's the landlord special, if you're covering up graffiti, there's layers and history there. So it was super important to kind of feel that in the art.
That's beautiful. Speaking of our show, I would like to talk to some of our vocal talent, our voice actors for some of the characters. Yes. We have Jayden, Kimoy, Nicole, and you might not know this, but I played Reverend Mooney on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So I would like to start with Nicole. Tell me how you approached your character, and how did you find your voice, and what were some of the biggest moments of you voicing your character?
Well, I think finding my character was fairly easy because Matthew Claybrooks and I have gone way back. We came up in stand-up comedy together, and when he created this character, he kind of created it with me in mind many years ago when he started working on the show. He was like, "I'm working on this thing. I created a character. She's kind of loosely based on you. She's a nosy white." And he's like, if it ever sells, he's like, I want you to be part of it. And, I don't know if you guys know how the business of Hollywood works, but most people are full of it. And I was like, sure. And then one day I got a phone call, and what he said was true. And so he's like, just do you, have fun with the character. And, he just was like, she's a political activist, a white girl in the hood, who taught at a prison, and I just kind of just channeled my inner self. It was very difficult, and yeah, it was just it's just one of those things when you're kind of creating a character or creating a voice, you just kind of just walk around your bedroom making voices and watching yourself in the mirror and kind of. I don't know. It's an interesting, fun process. It's as a creative person, it's nice to be able to just go into the land of make believe in your head and not have to worry about what you look like and just worry about what you can lend to the character with your voice.
That's true and not true, and I'm going to tell you why. Because we all see on TV voice actors, and we see the behind the scenes, and you think the voice actors are just showing up in sweatpants, no makeup. Every time I went on set, it was cameras rolling, like visually. I'm like, hey, I didn't know we was doing this. So yes, and you still got to look presentable to the public. Give it to me, Jayden. How about you, brother?
So I'm Kevin Hart's understudy for the show. And I'm glad that I got that job because it was I think the week leading up to Christmas 2023, and I got a call one day. Said, "Hey, are you available this day?" I said, "No, I'm not. Don't ask me again." And they kept hounding me for that and said, "All right, fine, I'll come out." And I get the script I think the day or two before, and they say, "Oh, okay, you're going to be Kevin Hart's understudy." I said, "Well, heads up would have been nice." But I immediately watched hours and hours of stand-up and movies and any animated thing that he had been a part of, and
just sort of did my sort of Kevin Hart voice like that, and that's how I did it.
and just and they kept me on board, and I'm glad that they did. With Omar, and this is funny, we don't get the designs for the characters when we voice them, so this is really just a description that they give us in the lines and send us out. For this character. If you haven't seen the show, he's a short gay man, and that's how you describe it. He shares the same name as my father, Omar, and he's crazy homophobic, was sending me Charlie Kirk videos, so I thought, what is the most annoying voice that I can give somebody named Omar? And I gave him this voice like this, man, get your out of here, and they kept that. So I think that it worked well for that, and it suits his character, and I'm glad that I could embody that. Last thing I'll say, they gave me a character, I think, for the last episode named Brian, who happens to be the name of my uncle. So I'm playing all these characters that share my family lineage. I'm just waiting for the next season when there's a Jayden character.
That's amazing. I love how you were getting called the day before Christmas and was like, nah, I don't want the money. I'm good. Man, I'd have took that bread so fast. Kimoy, give it to us. How did you come up with the inspiration for your character?
Okay, it's working. I came up with, I actually didn't come up with anything, honestly. LIL KEV was probably my third booking ever. I literally had one day decided to be a voice actor and hopped into it. And it was my third booking ever. And I remember coming in and I did the audition, I came in, and then the voice that I had for Soupy was completely different than what ended up being on camera. And I think what happened was I just got to know the characters more and stayed afterwards and asked and talked to Matt and Mike and Amanda and Allison and Musa, and they let me upstairs to see the animation in the background, and I really got to know the characters really well, and it kind of built a relationship with them. I don't know, they kind of feel like my little babies. and just came through with what is Soupy. And then for Dirty Dante was actually, I think I was more doing scratch for him. And then like once it clicked with me who his character was, which is like the dirty, sick kid in the class, I was like, one day I was just doing scratch and I was like, ugh, and I got really gross. And then like they came out of there, like I remember we came out of there and they were like, you really brought him to life. And I was like, damn, he's really sick. They were like, because I was like just making the grossest sounds ever. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess. But yeah, just getting to know the characters and wanting to bring them to life. That's what I learned. And acting. Like I remember after my first session, I was like, because I remember, I think Matt and Mike at one point, they were like, improv. And I was like, oh. And then after I took a bunch of classes, and I've just been like working on my acting chops and everything like that. And I've just been so like grateful to like bring these characters to life and these voices to life. I just don't feel like they're my own. Like I know a lot of people are like, they come in, they're like, I'm myself. But I feel like I just got to know them, and then I just built them like someone with DID or something.
Nice.
I would say too that. Oh, sorry. That like we write these characters, except for, Kevin. We knew what Kevin sounded like. We knew we had Wanda Sykes. We know what she does. We had Dion Cole, and we had Slink playing Henry. So, but a lot of these other characters they just existed on the page, and then when we brought Jayden or Kimoy or Nicole in or the other Clayton. Like they created the characters for us, and then we suddenly found like, oh, that's what makes them funny, So we were able to sort of like latch on to like Omar, especially Omar and his partner's name is Darnell. They're so funny, and we figured out, oh, this is what makes them funny, and we were able to write better to them once we had these amazing people in the booth.
That's amazing. To go back to Kimoy, to answer you guys' question, yes, that is her real voice. She sounds like that all the time. And yes, it's weird.
In my head, I sound like Michelle Obama. How about that?
Oh, it's true. That's crazy. So I'm gonna let you live. So everybody, this is a question for the entire panel. We will start. You know what? Let's start with Nicole and come our way down. How about that? So give me some of your favorite behind-the-scenes moments that maybe cracked you up, made you laugh hard, or something that made you fall back in love with this business.
It really was being able, so I got my start in stand-up comedy, and then I also have done a lot of commercial acting and TV acting. And you kind of have a shelf life, sadly, as a woman in entertainment, where you kind of age out of being relevant in front of the camera. And then you go away for a little bit, and then once you're older, you can kind of come back to it. And not to say that I'm aging out of it, but I always had this cloud hanging over me, knowing that like my time is limited and I might not be able to get to be the creative person that I want to be for much longer. And then this was my first voiceover acting job. I had done voiceover for commercials, but then I had this opportunity to like be the most creative person I could be, and what I look like does not matter. I can be young, I can be old. I do a lot of voices. I can sound like a younger kid. And it's just so much fun your voice is your greatest asset in this business. And for someone who is, afraid of aging out of being relevant and aging out of being able to be as creative as I want to be, it is the most liberating and beautiful creative process I've ever been part of. And I got to go home, and every single time I left the studio, I was like, oh, this is like the universe's gift to me for sticking with it and like putting up with a lot of stuff that this business throws at you. It really is, I don't know, it's the most beautifully creative I've ever been able to be in this business. So I am eternally grateful for it.
Nice. I will say this before you answer, Musa. I will tell you this, Nicole. Talent never ages out. You will always be working because you have an incredible talent and you're amazing. So don't ever think about the age thing. You understand? Yes. Also, you are white, so use that.
You gotta use
all right.
Amen.
Musa, after you.
Amen.
Let's not ever forget that white. You understand? Go ahead, Musa.
To get a chance to work with this crew on this project, I'm born and raised, West Philadelphia born and raised. So I wasn't I wasn't raised in North Philly where the show takes place, but my mother was, and I have a lot of family that's in North Philly, and the church I went to growing up is in North Philly, so I've got some connections to the area. And just to be part, I was a fan of Kevin before I even knew anything about this project, and just to get a chance to work with, such talented people, everyone from Mike and Matt to the artists, Allison, David, everybody. It felt kind of like what you were saying. It was a gift. I had this special connection to Philly, a fan of Kevin, and just got to be part of a show almost from the beginning in terms of, I think I was the first artist hired to help bring the look of the show together. And we just bonded and we had so much fun. There's this wonderful interaction, we touched on it earlier, between the writers and the artists and interpreting their words, but then also handing the baton to the voiceover artist. But the process is such that as they're writing, we're designing, and as we're designing, they're voicing, and it all comes together. And it just was a really special experience. And my mantra, I was so excited, and you guys are probably sick of hearing, some of you are sick of hearing this, but I was so excited, I just used to say, we're making a show. And so the whole thing, it was tough, at times. It's, putting TV together is not always an easy task, but we had such a great group of people. Even don't tell anyone I said this, but the network executives, everybody was kind of a pleasure to work with, and that is not always the case. So it was just a good experience all around.
Nice. Yeah. Kimoy, give me favorite moment from the show.
Favorite moment is probably the whole show, honestly. The whole experience, every time I came in, is beautiful. It was my first animated project, so being able to see everyone's hats and seeing how many people are behind it, like going upstairs and seeing like the storyboarding in the background, the detail, like the detail even in the background of like what's in Kevin's room, and like he has like like in like one of the shows there's like a frame, he has like a knitting club thing, he's like head of the knitting club, like those little details, every little thing, there's like silent jokes between everyone going on, and like it's just the whole experience as a whole has been my favorite. Every time I came into Shadow Machine, like I felt like this, it felt like a warm hug. Like
that's dope.
Each time and every time, I'm so grateful to be up here and work with people like Musa and Nicole and Matt and Mike and Allison and Amanda and Jayden, like everyone. You, Clay, yes I am. I'm glad to see you too. I'm glad.
That's so sweet. I'm going to tell everybody there's a lot we got to get done in a very short amount of time, so I'm going to have lightning answers and questions for everybody. The fact that you committed to this mustache is still hilarious. All right, give it to me, Jayden. Favorite moment from the show?
Yeah, there was one episode they had me reading a whole paragraph of insults. And and I remember I got it all in one take. It was you ashy nappy-headed son of a just going on and on and on and on for like 30 seconds straight of just horrible things that you could say to somebody. and I remember being so proud that I was able to utter all those syllables out in one breath, in one go, that I felt like I had something that I had really accomplished within voice acting, was just being able to spit rapid fire horrific things at somebody, and that made me feel at home with that.
I love that, man. Amanda?
I'll just talk a little bit about the synergy between voice actors and designers, because when we heard your voice for Dirty Dante, we added the permanent snot bubble. So it really is collaborative. It's a collaborative effort.
Beautiful. Allison?
There was one time when we get animation back from our partner studio. They were in Manila. And we send them storyboards, and then they do the animation and send that back to us. And we boarded Uncle Richard just coming into the house. Like he's opening the door, and he comes in and shuts it. And they sent us back. He comes in and like does a full quick spin and shuts the door, and we loved it so much. It was so random. Normally animation studios, they're sticking to like what you've you've given them, and someone really went above and beyond. And so we kept it in the show because it was just great. But we were cracking up about it for like weeks.
It was like a Kramer entrance from Seinfeld.
Right.
Yes.
He went above and beyond.
Nice. Mike?
Boy, there's so many. I mean, I think mostly my memories are like working with Matt and the other. We have an amazing writing staff. It's so great. They're so funny and great. And the first season, that first season we did, we mostly wrote it on Zoom when we were in Zoom boxes. And this, hopefully, if we get a second season, we'll be more in person. But they're all so funny and great, and it's just a moment of like, I can't explain it, but like, I'll be watching the show and there'll be a particularly funny joke, and I'll remember the moment in the room when Matt or one of the other writers pitched it, and we all just laughed, and it just makes me warm to see it again and remember it. I'm instantly like at the end of Ratatouille when that guy goes back to being like a kid, you know, eating soup, whatever. Like that's me. I go back to being in the room when someone pitched an amazing joke that just made us all laugh, and that's for me.
Give it to me, Matt.
Real quick, but there's so many things like Michael said, but Michael and I sold this show 8 years ago or more?
Well,
9? What was it?
It's 9 years ago now.
9 years ago. We sold it. We were given we were sold a dream. And when it didn't go, I cried. It was tough. 9 years later, sold it again, and it's a show. And so and I never gave up on it. I couldn't quit it. My manager told me, Matt, it's slowing you down creatively. This is never going to happen. And I just couldn't believe her. And everybody on this stage I consider family because everybody on this stage helped me in my first time as a showrunner. You know, our actors, you, Clayton, that's why I needed you here. I needed the support. Allison and Amanda, you guys don't know how important you were to me going from the level I was at to where I was, just teaching me stuff about animation. And I would always be like, why does it cost so much? Like, you could draw that in like 20 minutes. What do you mean it takes a whole day? And they assured me how it really worked, and they helped me get through it. But it's been great, and I love everybody up here. Thanks.
Man, that was amazing, dude. The reason I'm glad that you said that is because it's a message to everybody to never give up on your dreams. And I say that because I had given up on my dream of voice acting. I had taken a voiceover class in 2011 with my wife, and I was like, I really wanted to do voices. I have 1,000 voices, but in my stand-up, never a reason to do the voices, right? And I had given up, had auditions, didn't get them, and I was like, well, maybe it's just not for me. And Matt hits me, says, hey, man, I want you to read the role for one of these characters. It's the Reverend. And I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll read it. I know this is going to be hey, the network decided to go in another direction situation. And I booked the role. And I cried because I had given up, and he restored my faith in this business and in myself. So thank you, Matt.
And let me add to that just 2 seconds. Like with Clayton, with Nicole, some other people, we try to set our actors up. And if we want them to get the job, we give them the script early, we kind of direct them. And then when they come in and they do well, and they're like, oh, this was really good. And we're like, oh, wow, that's awesome. But we set them up because we're like, this is who we want. And we're going to push for it and try to make it happen because we want the funniest people, and you guys are the funniest people.
Man, not about to cry again. Ladies and gentlemen, what I want to do is I want to start the line for questions because we're running out of time. If you have a question for anybody on the panel, get behind that line. I'm going to try and get to everybody. Do me a favor. Make your question concise so I can get to every single person's question. And when you start talking to us, tell us your name and what city you're from. And then we all going to go crazy in support, all right?
We are.
All right. So, first young lady, what is your name? Where are you from?
I'm Bianca, and I'm from San Diego.
San Diego!
In the house.
Nice. What is your question?
So I noticed that the show so far, at this point that I've watched, I noticed that it maintains the rhythm of Kevin Hart's kind of stand-up and that narrative rhythm that he has, even in the dialogue between the characters. So I'm curious with the voice actors, or even with anyone, how do you guys maintain that narrative rhythm that he kind of establishes in his voice?
Well, I watch a lot of Kevin Hart.
But it's sort of just picking up on the beats that he has. There's certain words that he emphasizes, and I think that's being his understudy. Sort of what I picked up on was that his way of speaking needs to carry through, and his way of speaking is what carries his stand-up. So sort of just had to put myself into his shoes within that, and I was reciting some of his stand-up, I was reading some of it, I was listening to it for hours on end just to get into that sort of vibe, and I think it played off pretty well, I'd like to think. Yeah.
Great job.
I'd say, too, from a writing standpoint, these shows can't be very long. They're like, what are they, 23 minutes or something?
Yeah.
Like that, 23 minutes. So, but we have so many ideas and so much stuff. So, like, everything is directed to go like at a really fast clip. So everyone, like Kevin is a very dynamic and energetic guy on stage, as you know. So like the show is like at that tempo, it just moves along because we like keep it going and keep the jokes going.
That's what I was gonna say. It's really in the writing too. I love when I got the scripts, I would read it in its entirety just to know like the beat of the episode. And then I'd go in and I'd be like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen and this is gonna happen and so on and so forth. But like, it really is like, for me, the writing. And I'd like laugh at myself because you can kind of see it in your head when you're reading, and then you kind of know like we're not in the booth with each other, but I would kind of like get a feel and kind of know the banter. And then you have, Allison, Matt, Mike, Musa guiding you and being like, okay, well, give me one more like this. So like, because they're there the whole day. They're there the whole day. They're guiding everyone. So they're also like guiding us to like have that kind of banter with each other. So it's really like everyone's voices are shining through that way.
That's big. It's actually, I'm the opposite when it comes to the script. I just want to see my lines because I like watching the show, and I don't want to know what's going to happen until I'm watching the show. You know what I mean? How you doing, man? What's your name and what is your question? Where you from?
Originally, I'm from Cleveland.
Cleveland, make noise!
Family.
But I'm the chair of Africana Studies at San Diego State, so I'm here in San Diego.
Nice.
Nice.
But I mean, thanks. No accolades. I only say that to say that I went to graduate school at Temple in North Philadelphia.
Philly.
Yeah.
Nice.
So my question is, because North Philadelphia is a very unique place, and I mean that in a very good way, and just wondering how the actors kind of, maybe embody the spirit or how they tap into just the vibe of North Philadelphia.
Nice. Let's start with Jayden.
Well, my sister went to school. I think she still lives there in Philadelphia. No, she moved to Jersey recently. But she went to school up there for a few years, and I'd never been there, but she's constantly keeping me in the loop of what's happening up there, what's happening in the culture, and we were all both following the Eagles win. I don't usually watch football, but for that sake, I kept up with it and was keeping up with all their games and things like that. It's a very energetic city, and I think that plays through with the kinds of characters that we have. So that was sort of just how I kind of integrated myself into what was going on, is just keeping up with the news, any kind of local stories, any local politics, or just social happenings. That was what kept me in the loop and got me in that Philadelphia mindset. But I think I owe them a visit at some point. So,
yeah. Nice. Kimoy.
Same. I just kind of went in and like tried to interact with as many people from Philly as I knew, but also we had Musa. So like anytime there was like any Philly slang or anything like that, I think I said John like a bunch of times. I don't know if I said it right though, but you had Musa being like, no, that's correct, or like, no, that's not correct. So we had like a Philly, you know what I mean? We had someone Philly up in there.
Yeah.
Kinda.
So I'm originally from Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I'm from as well.
For me, it was, I was playing a white woman who lives and operates and partakes in a black community in Philadelphia. So it was one of those things where, I wanted to be as true to myself. And also, yes, I grew up didn't grow up in Detroit. I grew up in a city called Southfield, which is right outside of Detroit. But if I say Southfield, people are like, "Where's Southfield?" And I'm like, "It's Detroit." And then it's like, "Well, you're not really from Detroit." And I'm like, "Look, this isn't like a stolen valor thing, okay? I'm just." But I feel like sometimes in creating a white character that lives in a black neighborhood, especially, you can kind of lean towards being this like hyperbolic, stereotypical, like a white girl who's trying to be a black girl. And I didn't want it to be like that. I wanted it to be as true to who I am as a person. And I didn't want like having a vocal affectation of a white girl doing like her impression of a black girl. And I just tried to keep it as grounded to who I am as a person, and while honoring the fact that this is a character who has dedicated her life to taking part in a community that wasn't necessarily her own. And you'll see in the next season, she turns into something entirely different. Well, not entirely different, but yeah, it was really just a matter of honoring, serving a community that I might not necessarily be part of, but I am like dedicated to, I guess you could say.
That's big. Great question, man. How are you? What is your name and where are you from?
My name is Karen. I'm from New York State, not New York City.
All right. Make noise for New York.
New York!
What is your question?
My question is for Matthew Claybrooks. What kind? You said you pitched this, I guess, at least 9 years ago. I'm very interested in the process. So, do you have a relationship with Kevin Hart and that is why you pitched the idea, or you thought about it before you had a relationship?
That's interesting.
Kind of put us together.
Yeah, they put us together. Like my manager called me. I remember I was in Compton going to the cleaners, and my manager called me and said, "Hey, they're looking for an animated series for Kevin Hart. Do you want to pitch on it?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" And so I met with Kevin and a part of his crew. Michael, you met with Lionsgate, right?
Right, Lionsgate was the original studio behind it, and they called me because I had a show on Netflix that had just come out. This is, again, like almost 10 years ago, called F is for Family, that Bill Burr was the star of. And so, one of the Lionsgate's executives, this great guy named AJ, I'd known him from somewhere else, but they were like, "Oh, well, he did a show for a comedian. Maybe he wants to do a show for Kevin Hart." So they called me, or was I interested in meeting Kevin Hart about it? And I was like, "Yeah, of course." So then I think we had separate meetings.
We had separate meetings, and they hired both of us separately without telling us.
It was like a Parent Trap kind of thing.
It was, and I remember like my agent at the time, he called me and he was like, "Matt, the problem is they already hired a writer." And I was like, "What?" But Kevin said he's going with me. And then they said, "Well, we're gonna get you guys together and see if you guys jail." And I looked up all of Michael's stuff, and he had stuff on the resume like the PJs, which is one of my favorite shows. And I was like, and he wrote on Homeboys in Outer Space.
Are you serious?
Yes, Homeboys in Outer Space.
Buried the lead, yes.
And when I saw his resume, I was like, "Oh, this guy's gonna be my best friend." So I went in and tried to impress Michael, and we got along really well. And they were like, "Okay, we're gonna put you guys together." And we've been a buddy cop movie ever since.
We have, that's true.
We're like,
what?
I'm Mel Gibson, you're Danny Glover. And,
yes.
I'm the one that's too old for this.
But I'm a much more attractive Danny Glover.
Absolutely,
You didn't say
absolutely.
That part.
Interesting because like the original idea too was going to be slightly different than what we came up with.
Yes.
The original idea that they talked to me about was it would be more about a show about Kevin, a guy like Kevin who lives a life like Kevin's now, like a famous guy with kids and trying to keep the kids like keeping it real and everything. And they were like, "We don't want to do that thing where like Kevin as a kid. We're not doing that, And then the Matt came in. We're doing Kevin as a kid.
That's the exact thing I did. Is that my manager asked me? She said they want to do a show about Kevin as an adult raising his kids. And I watched all his stand-up over the weekend, and I was like, "Can you ask me if I can come in with a different take than they're asking for?" And I got an artist to draw some pictures. I went in, and I said, "Kev, I don't like your idea, and here's why." And then I proceeded to pitch him as Little Kev, and he was like, I remember him putting his head down. I was like, man, I up. Sorry, children. When I grew up, a lot of people said way worse things. But and then he was like, oh, man, this is great. This is great. And I was like, okay. And then that's when they, and at the same time, they were telling Michael, this is great. This is great. And then they put us together.
Then we met together and hit it off, and it's been great.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, it was a long story, but we had it at a bigger network, and they didn't quite know what to do with it, and then they let it go, and then like Matt honestly was the one over the course of like 6 years or so, every 5 months or so, he told me, I think we're gonna make this happen, and I'd be like, yes, we are. I go like, but we did. And it's all for him.
Yeah,
he did it. He's the one.
I couldn't let it go. That's my biggest strong point and flaw.
That's big, man. If you would have let it go, we wouldn't be here right now in 23 ABC in front of all these people. I will say this. We talk about Lil Kev. We're going to talk about Homeboys in Outer Space at some point, man.
Let's do it right now.
That's crazy. So, do we have any more questions before we get out of here? Don't be scared. Do not be nervous. This is the only time you'll get a chance to do this thing.
All right. Well, I guess we have a few minutes to talk about Homeboys in Outer Space.
Yo, I can't. First of all, I thought you ever see a show that you think you imagined? I was like, this show didn't exist, bro. And then you did the PJs? Why did you not tell me he did the PJs?
I told you.
Oh my God. I've been in the studio sessions just shocked.
I worked on Homeboys in Outer Space, and it feels like it didn't exist. It feels like a dream. Now, that was a great, honestly, that was an amazing thing. I know we only have a minute or two, but that was my first job as a writer of sitcom, comedy writer. And it was an amazing staff, amazing group of people. It's a show that unfairly gets, lumped in with like not being a good show, whatever. We had the time of our life making it. It was great people on it, great actors, and almost everyone from that writing staff has gone on to like amazing careers. Like I'm on The Simpsons, and I'm on LIL KEV. The two other guys in there are the guys that created American Dad. The guys that worked on Family Guy, guys that went on other shows. It was a great show. And if I hadn't gotten on that show, I met some people there who were had worked on The Simpsons. That's how I got the job on The Simpsons, because I met these guys working on Homeboys in Outer Space. So I thank God for that show every single day. And it was a really, really great show. It's not available anywhere. There's clips of it on YouTube. Yeah. It was a fun show.
Homeboys in outer space, interplanetary brothers, down for one another. Come on, baby.
Right. Ain't no problem.
They can't solve.
No.
Come fly aboard the Space Soup Tea in the 28th century.
Bro,
yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say there are 4 things that I got to say before we get out of here. Number 1, I want to thank Impact 24, BET Plus, Heartbreak Productions, Common Con for putting this panel together. Thank you for having us. That's number 1. Number 2, I want you guys to tag us in your posts on social media, and I want you to hashtag Lil Kev on BET Plus and at Impact24PR. Thank y'all so much, man.
Thank you
guys
for this
so much
TED
for being on the
Talk.
panel. Please
Thank
watch
you,
Lil
everybody.
Kev on BET Plus.